Hello everyone, I, Dr. Pramod Awasthi, is going to discuss about the first video lecture of the engineering chemistry. This basically lecture is the part of the engineering chemistry unit 2. This lecture is basically give the introduction of the fuel, its classification and its chemical. This lecture is not only useful for the academic purpose but also useful for our day-to-day life. What do you think? What is fuel? How may I say this particular particle, this particular object is considered as a fuel? So fuel is any combustible substance which gives the sufficient amount of energy, and this energy should be sufficient, and it can be utilized for the domestic as well as industrial purpose. Suppose we just get a 500 rupees note from our pocket and burn it. It will give energy, but this energy cannot be utilized for the domestic as well as industrial purpose. So can we say this 500 note is considered as a fuel? No. Again, if we just burn a paper, it will again burn, it will give the energy, but this energy cannot be utilized for the domestic as well as industrial purpose. So again, we can't say the paper may be considered as a fuel. So any combustible substance which is giving sufficient amount of energy, this amount of energy should be utilized for the domestic and industrial purpose. If it is, then it will be considered as a fuel. So fuel may be in solid state, in liquid state, in gaseous state. In our day-to-day life, we use fuel as a coal, as a petrol, as a diesel, as a CNG, different state. How the fuel burn? It is basically the combustion of fuel. The term combustion refers to the exothermal oxidation of fuel by air or oxygen at a sufficient rapid rate to produce a high temperature, usually with the appearance of a flame. When any combustible substance burns, its carbon content, when coming in contact with oxygen, it gets oxidized and converted to carbon dioxide, and it again, with the same time, it gives the sufficient amount of energy. This energy is utilized for the different purpose. Whenever any combustible substance is burned, so carbon will convert into carbon dioxide, hydrogen will convert into water, sulfur if present, it will again convert into sulfur dioxide, and if any other combustible, non-combustible substance is there, it will convert as a H. In general, in a liquid state or in gaseous state, inorganic substances are absent, or else it will be in the rare condition. So, in general, whenever we use coal, it may be used for the domestic purpose, but whenever we need to burn a solid fuel, it should be in the coke form. So coal is first converted to coke, and whenever coke is burned, it gives the carbon dioxide. So coke will have more amount of oxygen whenever it is going to connect with the oxygen, it will convert it to carbon dioxide, and it will give the sufficient amount of energy. Now we are going to next part, that is the classification of fuel. Fuel is classified on different bases. The first one is the occurrence and the second one is the physical state. Whenever we categorize the fuel on the basis of occurrence, it will be categorized into primary or the secondary fuel. Primary is basically the natural fuel. This is basically used as such as we obtained from the nature. Suppose we are getting the wood and burn, it will be treated as a primary fuel. But whenever it is processed to improve its property, to improve its efficiency, it will be converted to secondary fuel. So primary fuel, when going to process, it will convert into secondary fuel. It may also be considered as artificial or semi-natural. So natural fuel is used as such as we obtain from the nature, and whenever it is converted into it is processed, it will convert into secondary fuel. Suppose we had just taken the example of coal. Coal when converted into coke, to increase its efficiency. So coal will be considered as a primary fuel, and this coal when converted into coke, so coke will have more energy, will have efficient fuel. So it will be considered as a secondary fuel. So secondary fuel or primary fuel are basically the two types of category, and these are categorized on the basis of occurrence. Second classification is of on the basis of physical state. So whenever we discuss the fuel on the physical state, it will again converted into, it will categorize into three parts. It will be either in solid state or solid state, liquid state or gaseous state. So this is basically the actual categorization in which we are going to discuss all the classification. So fuels, either it may be the primary fuel, means natural fuel, or it may be the processed fuel. So whenever it is going to process, it will convert into secondary fuel. When we are using primary fuel in its different state, it may be solid, it may be gas, it may be liquid. So this one is the solid fuel, which one is used as such as we get the from the nature. In solid state, we just get the wood from the tree, we get the pit. Pit is the initial form of the wood. Gaseous fuel, whenever we get the fuel from the nature as a crude oil, it will be primary fuel. Gaseous fuel, whenever we just decompose any component, it will give the natural gas. So it will be the primary fuel. Liquid fuels, whenever we get the crude oil from the petroleum source, it will be the primary fuel. But whenever this wood or pit or coal is processed, it will convert into coke. Coal, when going to decompose, it will convert into charcoal. So this one is the primary fuel. It will be giving the energy. It will also give the energy. But this one will be less amount of energy. This will be more efficient. It will give more energy. At the same time, gas is natural. In primary fuel, we use gas as a natural gas, and whenever we just get the fuel after the processing of any primary fuel, we may get the coal gas, water gas, and other form of the gas. The same time, whenever we process the crude oil, it will give different fraction of the component having the liquid state. So it will be maybe petrol, it may be diesel, it may be gas, it may be petrol, it may be gas, diesel, it may be kerosene, and it may be different solvent. And at the last, whenever it is processed, it will give the coal as a coal tar, which will be used for the construction of the road. This was all about this lecture. With the next part, we will discuss the calorie dependent other foods. Thank you.